Gather on the campfire, everybody. Tonight, I'm going to be recounting tales of legendary figures from times gone by. The Tale of the Unconquered Viking. Born of a Viking mother and bear father, Bodvar grew up feared and mistrusted by his own people. Bodvar's first nemesis was the terrible giant bear Grothnah, his own brother. By defeating Grothnah in a battle that lasted 7 days, Bodvar chose to side with humanity and became the protector of the people of the north. He led his Scandian people against the Witch Queen of Helheim, slew the White Dragon sorcerer, and lived the life of an all-conquering hero. After he single-handedly ended the giant wars by trapping the fire giant king in his own volcano, Bodvar sensed his work was done. But he felt doomed to never be taken by the Valkyries to Valhalla because he could never manage to be defeated in battle. So he traveled to Asgard himself, broke the doors down, and let himself in. Valhalla is everything Bodvar hoped, an endless reward of feasting and fighting, with himself among its greatest champions. Now, the Marshal of the Old West. When 15-year-old Cassidy Miller captured Wild Zeb and his gang, Zeb insisted his gun jammed and the sun was in his eyes. But outlaws soon changed their tune, and just 5 years later, Bloody Cal Johnson bragged from prison that Utah had been forced to call in the great Marshal Cassidy just to bring him down. In her long career, Cassidy's insistence on justice for all earned her many unlikely friends, including the meanest horse in the West, a giant cougar named Boots. But it also put her on the wrong side of the law when she joined the Underground Railroad and became a wanted fugitive herself. Later, Cassidy returned to law enforcement in dramatic style when President Lincoln begged her to track down the Bloodfang Rangers, a company of Confederate vampires. To Cassidy, Valhalla is like any other frontier boomtown in need of a rough brand of justice. She's always on the lookout for the suspicious types and reckons that trouble's brewing. And now here we have the tale of the mysterious stranger. Watching from the doors of Valhalla, Bodvar, Cassidy, and the other legends saw a blazing trail of smoke cut across the Asgardian sky. Behind the fiery comet, a Valkyrie raced in pursuit, as though trying to stop the fireball as it plunged into the fields of Folk Wagner in a gout of dirt and flame. The legends then watched as Valkyries and emissaries of Odin gathered around the smoking crater. Weeks later, the sons of Ivaldi, the same dwarven smiths who had forged Odin's spear, quietly appeared in Asgard. They bore suits of dazzling golden armor and presented it to the gods themselves. Soon after, the mighty Orion joined the feast halls of Valhalla. Tentative and aloof at first, Orion soon warmed to the Great Hall and is now amongst its greatest warriors and most popular champions. Orion does not speak of his past, and other legends can only speculate. But Valkyries stop by his chambers to ask if he wants to, hang out or whatever. No big deal. He is the only hero seen to leave Asgard from time to time. Now this one's titled quite simply, The Despotic. Vrax's father was Governor Tyrant of the ice planet Roldock 9, and young Vrax spent his childhood like most Zaktari noble spawn, in a vat. As a cadet pilot in the Zaktar Academy for Conquest and Subjugation, he excelled in space dogfighting, judging the weak, and planetary immolation. As a young warlord, Vrax destroyed Roldak for harboring his childhood piano teacher, and soon built an impressive empire through fear, intimidation, brilliant space combat, and fear. However, Vrax's extraordinary military prowess was always undermined by overconfidence, grandstanding, gloating, unworkable revenge plots, and general self-indulgence. He vaporized one planet because he didn't like the color of their beaches, and disintegrated so many ill-performing generals that the rank of lieutenant colonel became known as the sweet spot. In Valhalla, Vrax's naked ambition and unremitting scheming is reassuringly constant. He is contemptuous of heroes who are not royalty, and only Nye, Bodvar, Hattori, and Orion are worthy of direct address. Vrax's most prized possession is everything he owns, so no touching. And now a tale quite literally as old as time. The first real man. In the darkness before the dawn of history, Nash was raised by the harsh jungle itself. The lone hunter was called Longfang by the Sabertooths, the Beast by the human clans, and Swift to Death by the Primordials, an ancient race of savage cannibal apes. The ruthless Primordials drove humankind to the brink of extinction before Nash emerged to stalk their steps. He devised the very first plan when he drove the last of the Primordials through the Great Crevasse to the Valley of the Never-Setting Sun and trapped them there with a giant avalanche. No one has been in Valhalla longer, and some say he was hunting these heavenly forests before Odin and company arrived. He continues to collect firewood, avoid darkness, store food for winter, and does not seem to understand or care that he is not still on Earth. He talks little about the tournaments, or anything else, but his winning record speaks for itself. The tragedy of the Jaguar Queen. Hundreds of years of war and plague had reduced the once mighty empire of the Jaguar Kingdom to a shadow of its former glory. Neither the brilliant battlefield victories nor the cunning sorcery of the great Queen Nye could stem the tide of decline of her people, or of her gods, a once great pantheon now faded to near extinction. Seeing that her civilization's doom was sealed, Nye made a plan. She cast a spell, drawing into herself the essence of the 11 surviving gods of the Jaguar Kingdom, and when, during the Battle of Izanokala, a Valkyrie offered Nye a place in Valhalla, she accepted, carrying Zanlakutli the Kodal, Iba the Snake, and 9 other ailing gods with her to the Great Hall. In Valhalla, Nye is a consummate warrior that has grown to love the place. Yet, she never loses sight of her purpose. Her victories nourish the gods of her people, and little by little they recover. Nye believes tales of Ragnarok represent Asgardians' dim understanding that creation is cynical and that Asgard must be destroyed for the world to be renewed and for her gods to rule again. The Demon Bride. A young Hattori was so gifted with the sword that the Emperor offered a prize of 1,000 horses to anyone who could defeat her. For years, new warriors came to court every day only to be defeated. But on the day the demon Kaguma arrived to challenge her, Hattori sensed his malevolent power and fled. Enraged, the demon kidnapped Hattori's 3 sisters and carried them away to his island kingdom. Horrified by the consequences of her actions, Hattori built a boat out of reeds and pursued the demon. She was lost at sea until a stork lord showed her the passages between the twilight and the night to the demon's realm. There, Hattori found a bizarre world of talking stones and 8 armed ferrymen. In the city of the Onyx Castle, she met Kaguma's own brother, who offered to give Hattori his strength to defeat his brother, in return for her hand in marriage. True to his word, the demon exchanged his own blood with Hattori's, and Hattori slew Kaguma and freed her sisters. She became queen of the island kingdom, but the demon blood burned in her. It drove Hattori to wander the twilight passages until she discovered Valhalla. Through the eternal tournament, Hattori slakes the lust for battle that threatens to consume her. Now this one's a bit too long to say in full, so let's just call it Sir Roland, the Scarlet Lion. As a young knight, bold Sir Roland vanquished the fabled Jade Knight, and for a brief moment his eyes pierced the veil between worlds. He beheld the Valkyrie Hypernia as she lifted up his defeated foe. Overcome by her beauty, Roland dedicated his life to gaining glory in the hopes of seeing the Valkyrie again. For the next 50 years, the proud, bull-headed, and charming Roland won more victories, made more enemies, and broke more hearts than any knight of his time. His single-handed storming of the fortress of Augsburg inspired 47 epic ballads and a lifetime miniseries. Bards wrote songs about the song he wrote commemorating his victory over the bilious fire drake. As an old man on his deathbed, Roland finally beheld Hypernia again. She could not allow a natural death to keep such a warrior from Valhalla. So, with a ghost of a smile, she punched him herself so he could die in battle and she could offer him a seat in the Hall of Glory. No one in Valhalla feels a greater thirst for victory in the tournament than Sir Roland. He rejoices with every win and rages at every loss. Well, I think it's about time to hit the bed. I'm sure I have more stories like these somewhere, but please, be patient.